Imagine if you suddenly had magical powers to change anything around you. What would you change first? While we may not have magic, changes are happening all around us every day, both big and small. From the way our bodies grow to the way seasons shift, change is a natural part of life. In this video, we'll explore the fascinating world of changes, learn how to group them, and discover which changes can be reversed and which cannot. Let's start by looking at some everyday examples and see how changes shape our world. Think about your daily life. You wake up, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, and go about your day. But did you notice that changes are constantly happening around you? Crops grow and are harvested, leaves fall and change color, and flowers bloom and wither. Even your own body is changing, your nails and hair grow, you get taller, and your weight increases as you grow. These changes may seem ordinary, but they are all part of the continuous process of transformation happening everywhere. While it would be fun to have magical powers to change things instantly, the truth is we can create changes without any magic at all. For example, you can fold a piece of paper into a toy airplane, blow up a balloon, or roll dough into a ball. These simple actions show that we have the ability to change things around us using our hands and creativity. Let's look at some activities to see how changes happen in everyday objects. Let's start with a balloon. When you blow air into a balloon, its shape and size change. But what happens if you let the air out? The balloon returns to its original form. This is a great example of a change that can be reversed. The material of the balloon remains the same, and you can repeat this process as many times as you like. It shows that some changes are temporary and can be undone easily. Now take a piece of paper and fold it into a toy airplane. You might have fun flying it around the room. When you're done, you can unfold the paper and it returns to its original shape, though it may have some creases. This is another example of a reversible change. The paper is still there and you can use it again for something else. Such changes are common in our daily lives and show how materials can be transformed and then restored. Let's try another activity with dough. Take a ball of dough and roll it out to make a roti. If you're not happy with its shape, you can gather the dough and roll it again. This is yet another reversible change. The dough can be reshaped multiple times before it's cooked. These activities help us see how some changes can be undone, allowing us to return to the original material. What if you take the same piece of paper and cut it into the shape of an airplane? This time you cannot get the original sheet of paper back. The change is permanent. This is an example of an irreversible change. Once the paper is cut, it cannot be restored to its original form. Such changes are common, and they help us understand the difference between reversible and irreversible changes. Let's return to the balloon. If you blow it up and then prick it with a sharp object, it bursts. The balloon cannot be put back together. This is another example of an irreversible change. The material is permanently altered and you can't reverse the process. These examples show us that not all changes can be undone and some are permanent. Now let's look at what happens when you bake the rolled out roti on a hot pan. Once it is cooked, you cannot turn it back into dough. The change is permanent and the original material cannot be recovered. This is a classic example of an irreversible change caused by heating. Cooking often leads to changes that cannot be reversed. Think about your pencil and eraser. As you use them, their shape and size change. The pencil gets shorter and the eraser becomes smaller. These changes cannot be reversed. Once the material is used up, it cannot be restored to its original form. This is another example of irreversible change in everyday life. So how can we group different changes? One way is to see if the change can be reversed or not. Reversible changes allow us to get back the original material, while irreversible changes do not. By observing the results of our activities, we can easily sort changes into these two groups. This helps us understand the nature of the materials and processes involved. Have you ever seen a potter at work? A potter shapes a lump of clay into a pot on his wheel. This change can be reversed as long as the clay is not baked. If the pot is baked in an oven, the change becomes permanent and cannot be reversed. This example shows how heating can turn a reversible change into an irreversible one. See how heat can bring about change. When fixing a wooden handle to an iron tool, the iron ring is heated so it expands and fits over the handle. As it cools, it contracts and holds the handle tightly. This change is reversible because heating and cooling can be repeated. This principle is also used to fix metal rims on wooden wheels. Similar process is used when fixing a metal rim onto a wooden cart wheel. The metal rim is heated to expand it, then placed onto the wheel. When it cools, it contracts and fits tightly. This is a reversible change because the rim can be reheated and removed if needed. It's a clever use of expansion and contraction in everyday life. Have you ever watched a blacksmith? A blacksmith heats a piece of iron until it's red hot, making it soft and easy to shape. Once cooled, the iron becomes hard again. This change is reversible as long as the iron is not melted or mixed with other substances. Heating and shaping metals is a common way to bring about change. When you heat water in a pan, it boils and turns into vapor. If you cool the vapor, it turns back into water. This is a reversible change. Similarly, when ice melts, it becomes water, and freezing the water turns it back into ice. These changes show how heating and cooling can reverse the state of matter. Let's look at a candle. When you light a candle, it burns and becomes shorter. The wax melts and some of it turns into vapor. While melted wax can be cooled and solidified again, the part that burns away cannot be recovered. Burning is an irreversible change as the original material is lost. If you take some wax and heat it, it melts. When you cool it, the wax solidifies again. This is a reversible change. However, if the wax is burned, the change becomes irreversible. This example shows how the way we change a material can affect whether the change is reversible or not. When you burn an incense stick, it produces ash and releases gases with a pleasant smell. This change cannot be reversed. The original stick is gone and new substances are formed. Burning is a common example of an irreversible change as it creates new materials that cannot be changed back. What happens when you mix two substances together? For example, dissolving salt in water creates a solution. This change can be reversed by evaporating the water to get the salt back. However, not all mixtures can be separated easily. Mixing can lead to both reversible and irreversible changes depending on the substances involved. Have you ever seen milk turning into curd? By adding a small amount of curd to warm milk and letting it sit, the milk changes into curd. This change cannot be reversed. Once the milk becomes curd, it cannot go back to being milk. This is an example of an irreversible change caused by mixing and a chemical reaction. There are many ways to bring about change in a substance. Heating, mixing, cutting, and shaping are just a few examples. Some changes can be reversed while others cannot. By observing and experimenting, we learn more about the materials and processes that cause these changes. When you fold your clothes to walk through a waterlogged area, you can unfold them later. This is a reversible change. The original length and shape of the clothes can be restored, showing how some changes are temporary and easy to undo. If you accidentally break your favorite toy, the change is usually irreversible. The toy cannot be put back together as it was before. This example helps us understand that some changes are permanent and cannot be undone, even if we wish they could. When you draw a picture on a sheet of paper, the change cannot be reversed. The marks made by the pen or pencil are permanent. Even if you erase them, the paper may not look the same as before. This is another example of an irreversible change. A thick coating of plaster of Paris pop is applied over a bandage on a fractured bone. It becomes hard on drying to keep the bone immobilized. This change cannot be reversed. Once pop hardens, it cannot return to its original powder form. This is a useful but irreversible change. If a bag of cement gets wet and then dries in the sun, the change is irreversible. The cement hardens and cannot be used as before. This is another example of a permanent change caused by mixing and exposure to water. Try this fun experiment. Write a message with lemon juice on paper. When the paper dries, the writing becomes invisible. If you heat the paper, the message appears in brown. The change caused by heating is irreversible as the paper is permanently marked. This experiment shows how heat can reveal hidden changes. Throughout the year, you can observe seasonal changes in vegetables, clothing, nature, and events. Some changes, like the growth of plants, are reversible, while others, like the falling of leaves, are not. Keeping a record of these changes helps us understand the cycles of nature and the difference between reversible and irreversible changes. Sum up: changes around us can be grouped into two main types, reversible and irreversible. Some changes, like folding paper or melting ice, can be undone. Others, like burning a candle or baking a roti, are permanent. By observing, experimenting, and asking questions, we can better understand the world of changes and how they affect our lives. Keep exploring, and you'll discover even more ways that change shapes the world around you.